You're in luck, Mr. Relevant fans. It's Josh Dimaggio here with you today, filling in for the incomparable Alex Strouf. I'll be with you the next two episodes today and on Monday to recap the Packers versus Titans game. I do want to say thank you to our lovely producer here, producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Vaughn, for filling in, keeping things on the rail for us today. Strouf is going to watch the Packers play the Titans in Tennessee. And I want to transition right into the biggest update that we are all looking for. It's Jordan Love. Will he play? Won't he play? What's his status? Now, there has been all sorts of news flying around about Jordan Love, really, since the injury happened. We were originally put on a 3 to 6 week timeline. Last week, we had the mystery upgraded to questionable on Friday, only for Jordan Love to be ruled out on Saturday, even before the game started. We are now at the point where Jordan Love's status seems to be improving. He has participated in the past two Green Bay Packers, the most recent one actually being padded. Now, don't ask Matt LaFleur about Jordan Love's status because he will just continually repeat the words limited. He'll even spell it for you if you want him to. Now, with Jordan Love participating in practice, there have been more and more speculation going around. I do want to toss us to a video here from Ian Rappaport on NFL Network talking about the status of Jordan Love on Sunday.
Man, Matt LaFleur hates those injury-focused press conferences. He just hates them. You can see the gritted teeth are having to explain he's just limited, okay? He's just limited. So we will find out later in the week whether or not Jordan Love is going to play and how limited he is. You're right, this is much faster than I think anyone anticipated. I would also say that Jordan Love is the kind of guy who would be fine putting a brace on it, not being himself, and as long as he can't hurt himself more, as long as he can kind of stay out of harm's way, he's going to go out there and try to play. What's going to be fascinating to me to watch, guys, as we get later in the week, is how much of this is actually a coaching decision rather than a is Jordan Love healthy enough decision. It's a long season. They literally won last week by handing the ball off and making sure Malik Willis just had some easy completions. They can do that again and make sure that Jordan Love doesn't put himself in a situation that is disadvantageous to him. I just wonder if the coaches go, you know what? Respect you. Amazing you're out here. It's just not worth it. But that decision, as LaFleur said, might be 90 minutes before kickoff.
Now, the interesting thing out of that video, there's two pieces. Was the implication that Jordan Love would be playing less than 100%. I don't think that comes to a shock to any of us at this point. We all saw the slow-mo video over and over again. Whatever happened to that knee, the spraining of the MCL, it didn't look fun. And Jordan Love even went on to say that he was in immense amount of pain, and they even talked about, hey, is there a chance that you thought your season was over? But I think we're past that, and Jordan Love is pretty much at the point of making sure that he can withstand the pain and he has the mobility required, and then he can, of course, protect himself in the pocket. What Rap Sheet said at the end there is interesting to me. He said that this comes down to a coaching decision. I don't think this is on anyone other than Jordan Love at this point. I think if he's participating in practice in a limited fashion, that means to some degree the medical staff has determined that Jordan Love is not at severe risk of further injuring or injuring that MCL ligament anymore. I think if it comes down to playing, it's going to be Jordan Love saying, I feel good enough to participate. I feel good enough to face that pass rush of the Tennessee Titans. I think Jordan Love is going to be the one making the call at the end of the day. Part of that is due to the fact that they're not making any decision on this until 90 minutes before game time. What that tells me is this is a guy who the staff, be it medical and coaching, have kind of all agreed that if Jordan Love feels healthy enough, if the pain is not too much to withstand, this is a guy who can go out there and participate. I think it will be interesting. Obviously, we're all going to be glued to our phones or to the pregame show right here on 94.5 ESPN and ESPN Madison as well, trying to figure out, is Jordan Love going to be healthy enough to go? Hunter, what have you thought of how this has all played out? The rumors, we had Rob Demovsky calling it a charade. Now it could be up to the coaches. Now it's going to be 90 minutes. How have you received all this information and kind of where do you stand? Because right now I'm at the point of Jordan Love isn't going to play. And the Packers kind of know that through conversations with Jordan, because I don't think a lot is honestly going to change. If there's any speculation now, that's kind of thing. So where do you stand?
I kind of love the charade and back and forth. I understand if I was Jason and Rob and all the other guys that have to be in that in those press conferences every day, I'd be annoyed by it. But the toxicity of he's limited. He's limited. It's just hilarious to me. And like you said, it's 100% Jordan Love at this point. If he feels like he's good to go, they're going to let him go, I think. I keep going back and forth on if he should. Because I'm just there's the one part of me where I'm just if you feel good enough, go do it. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But then at the other side of it, and I know a knee injury is not nearly as severe as what Tua is dealing with in Miami and the concussions.
Correct.
But dude's got a long career ahead of him. Is this one game against the Titans really worth it? And that's where I'm I don't think he's going to play because he's going to view it the same way. And I think even Matt LaFleur is just going to be look, man, it's your choice. It's your decision. But it's this one game. We need you for the Vikings game. We need you to win these 2 games against Detroit. And that's what he's got to be 100% for. A game against an AFC South opponent really isn't going to do much for him.
Yeah, and the thing that's working in the Packers and Jordan Love's favor is the fact that Malik Willis won that first game that Jordan Love was out. You've got the game in hand. You stole the one win you need to. So to me, at this point, you can withstand a loss. You're not the dreaded 0-2. Only 11% of 0-2 teams end up making the playoffs. You got your win. The Tennessee Titans, I think, are a lesser roster than the Indianapolis Colts, but they're a similar team, and they don't pose some of the same threats that we are all worried about. I do think there's plenty left here for the Green Bay Packers and Malik Willis to run a new sort of play, and let's go right into the preview of the game against the Titans this weekend. The Green Bay Packers are, at this point, 3-point underdogs in this game. This line has kind of stayed around the 2.5 mark this far. It's kind of wavered back and forth. It's gone to 3, 2.5. Depends on where you look, where we're at. But I'm going to proceed with the analysis of this game as if Jordan Love is not going to be available to the Packers. It's going to be week 2 of Malik Willis. And the biggest question for me about this game is we saw the first Malik Willis experience. They didn't put a lot on Malik Willis's back. They didn't ask him to do a lot in terms of throwing the ball downfield. No one expects the Green Bay Packers to be able to run as well as they did against the Indianapolis Colts as they will against the Titans. I do think the Packers will have success because I do think Matt LaFleur and his run game plan, as we saw last week, is creative enough, is multiple enough, does provide enough threats in different directions that you're still going to have some success, but the Packers had a historic type day, especially for modern day NFL. So what's the next move? And to me, it's been easy to figure out. It's using Malik Willis's legs even more than you did in that last game. I believe Malik Willis had around 40 rushing yards. Some of them came on designed runs, and some of them just came on scrambles, him tucking it and kind of just getting the extra yard, moving the chains. I think the Green Bay Packers in this week will use Malik Willis's leg and his speed even more to their advantage. I would imagine and I would guess along with having more Malik Willis plays ready last week, they also had more for Jayden Reed, more of those tunnel screens, those quick smoke screens, just kind of getting the ball into a playmaker's hand, because I believe he only ended the week last week with 3 touches for Jayden Reed. And that's a guy who can kind of score a touchdown from anywhere on the field for you. The advantage was last week you simply didn't need to do that. I don't think the plan was let's hand the ball to Josh Jacobs 32 times during this game. It's just the Indianapolis Colts and Gus Bradley had nothing for the run game. So the Packers said, hey, that's fine. We know what we can do. We face a lot a lot fewer risk, a lot smaller risk of turning the ball over here or getting ourselves into a 3rd and long where the ball might be put into a sort of into risk there for them. So as much as it is dangerous and you are adding risk, I think with the confidence you have in Jordan Love getting closer and closer each week to returning, that this is a time for Malik Willis, hopefully to get somewhere upwards of 75 yards rushing. You add more Jaden Reed wrinkles in there, and you try and keep Malik Willis under that 20 total passing attempts. I do think the Tennessee Titans do provide a little more threat there with Jeffrey Simmons. That's a name we all recognize. They do have a good front seven that, frankly, has performed pretty well, and it's been their offense that let them down. Now, on the defensive end of the ball, I'm going to be very, very, very interested to see what the Packers pass rush looks in their third go of it. Now, the first 2 weeks there have been, they've had the threat of two much better and much bigger threats in terms of running the ball with Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson. Will Levis can run the ball. He does have the ability, but I would categorize it more similar to the way Jordan Love can run the ball, or like an early stage Aaron Rodgers, where it's a threat, but they're not going to be sort of designing play calls for that. I really want to see, how is Rashawn Gary going to look? How's Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, Kingsley Enagbare, all those guys there up front in that front line? Are they going to be able to rush the passer more effectively? That is one thing that this defense has been lacking so far, along with the run defense, which goes back a while. But Will Levis doesn't pose the same threat out there. So for for Jeff Hafley to be able to kind of show what this defense has, because I'll say I'm pretty confident in the secondary at this point. I'm pretty confident in the Jeff Hafley method of attack there. There is a clear change there with vision towards the quarterback and kind of being more aggressive in your zones instead of the Joe Barry just sit back and let it happen. I think if you've watched any Sports Center or you have been online at all, you've seen those turnovers Will Levis has kind of given up the game. He totally puked away the game against the Bears in week 1. If you can get pressure on this guy, he will throw you the ball. And maybe that'll show up a little bit there later in our underdog pick'ems when we look at it. So the one thing I'm targeting and I'm watching on the defensive side of the ball is the pass rush. There's a little anecdote here. I don't know if you've heard this, Hunter, but the right tackle, starting right tackle for the Tennessee Titans, he's a fantasy analyst. He's like a full-time fantasy guy. I want my right tackle to be just like Zach Tom. I want to never hear about him, and at the end of the game we go, what happened to TJ Watt? Where was he? Where was this premier pass rusher? You know, that's I don't want my guy talking about. That's what I do. I talk about fantasy football.
Yeah, that's not a good look for your team. But like, thinking about this game on Sunday, like, because the fact that you have video of your offensive coordinator for the Titans going, what are you doing out there to your quarterback? I'm honestly not really worried about the Packers defense. And I know, like, for you as a Packer fan, like, there are those scars of Joe Barry and everything. And it felt like whenever you said that, then they were going to give up a big game to some no-name player. So, like, but I'm not worried about it. Like, as long as you just go out there and basically play man in a too high safety, like, you're not going to get beat at all deep. You just keep it in front of you, like, do your thing. The Titans will screw it up themselves. Like, Will Levis has shown he's just going to make a mistake at some point. Just be ready for the mistake if you're the Packers. What I am worried about for this Packers team, though, is, like, I feel like Packer fans are forgetting that last season, every time the offense started to do something well in 1 week, Matt LaFleur wouldn't go back to the well the next week. Aaron Jones would have a big game. He'd get 20-plus touches. Things would look great. They wouldn't follow it up with trying to do the same things. And I worry that Matt LaFleur he's too much in his own head and thinks, oh, well, we ran the ball 32 times last week, so they're going to be expecting that. So now I have to throw the ball 32 times. They'll never see it coming. Yeah, they won't see it coming because that's stupid to do with Malik Willis. And I'm worried that that's what's going to happen here on Sunday. That, like, Matt LaFleur, it's weird week to week for him as a play caller. And I think he struggles with that at times. And I don't know if he's going to be able to follow up the same performance he had last week.
Had I not seen that final stretch there for the Packers, where I believe Aaron Jones ripped off five consecutive games with over 100 yards rushing, I would agree with you more had that not happened, because I do know what you're talking about, and I do know how sometimes you felt like, Matt LaFleur, why are you trying to outsmart you tried to outsmart the other team, and what you ended up doing was actually outsmarting yourself. I do think Matt LaFleur has grown as a play caller. And I do think the attitude was, especially after you listened to Matt LaFleur speak last week, was kind of like, we knew what we had to do. We went out there to do it. Malik Willis executed. Josh Jacobs did his thing, and we kind of just stuck to the plan. And you could kind of see that if you look at the way that second half took place, because you were, as somebody who was on Twitter, you did see some people going, well, why aren't they being more aggressive? There was that at the end of the first half, they were like, why aren't they trying to go downfield? And it's like, because you got to lead and you got a run game that's working. Let's not risk the ball any more than we need to here. The defense has looked good. I will say I'm much less pessimistic about this defense than a lot of people I've listened to across these stations. I know I could be backing myself into a corner here and kind of setting myself up for failure, but on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, you can listen to it 7 to 9 on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee.
Well-produced program.
Both Gabe... Yeah, wonderfully produced. Both Gabe and Chewy are a lot more pessimistic than I am at this point. And I think, for me, this team is creating turnovers. In the modern NFL, it's pretty simple. You create turnovers, and you're going to put yourself in a good situation to win every single game. Offenses now, unless you're facing a team like the Panthers, are going to move the ball pretty much regardless. Even some of the teams lower in the power rankings each week, they do have offenses that can move the ball. It's, punching it in, getting those things going, not turning the ball over like we've seen Will Levis do. That kind of sets everyone apart. So in terms of the offense, I'm pretty the defense, I'm pretty optimistic here. And since we're talking about the defense, I do want to quickly, before we go send it over to our friends at Door County there, I do want to talk about this wonderful tweet, this wonderful video. We're not going to play the whole video here because it was quite long and verbose from our guy Mel Kiper. I'm a Mel Kiper stan. I have been for a long time. Mel Kiper is largely the reason I've gotten into the draft as much as I have as an adult here now. But Mel Kiper, after everybody's been talking about the passing touchdowns being down in the NFL, he went up on Get Up yesterday and he said, I want to ban 2 high safeties. You can see there in the screenshot there, we got Mad Mel in his office, and it just says Mel Kiper says 2 high safeties should be outlawed. Now, I am a fantasy football player. I commit a lot to it. As I've talked about on this program a few times before, I did over 300 best ball drafts on the Underdog app. I love points. I love big plays. I love scoring touchdowns. I love all of that. But it doesn't seem realistic to ban the 2 high safeties because the game isn't exciting enough and we're not getting enough 9 routes hit. Tyreek Hill isn't quite enough turning big plays into touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, I watched him just last week turn a 97-yard touchdown in with a little run added to the end there. I found this to be as a hot take appreciator and a hot take purveyor at myself at times, I found this great, but also preposterous. Because what are defense supposed to do? They already are at the biggest disadvantage you could possibly imagine, and now we want to you have to keep these safeties a certain length away from the line of scrimmage? That doesn't make any sense to me. What are your thoughts on this, Hunter?
At first I was like, oh, well, that's stupid, but I've kind of processed it a little bit more, and I'm kind of here for it to an extent. Only because, I appreciate that Mel is trying to say, you know what, maybe we need to do something
ideas
with the game. Yeah, at least he's giving an idea. And, baseball started to ban the shift, and they said, okay, you can't move your shortstop or your second baseman to one side of second base then. They started to do things to try and help the offenses out. So I'm here for it to that extent. But like the idea of saying, no, you can't, you can only have X number of players so far away from the line of scrimmage, like it's just stupid. And I appreciate that now we're having this conversation as like running backs are starting to see bigger games. After the last 5 years, we were talking about, and we had Melvin Gordon on our stations all the time talking about how, running backs aren't appreciated. You don't get the same money. Like no one cares about the running back position anymore. And now all of a sudden you see the Jets and they're like, oh, nope, we're going to have Breece Hall and we're going to have Braylon Allen go for good games on Thursday Night Football because fine, go ahead, put your safeties off the line. We'll just run the ball at you again. It's Big Ten West football coming alive, and I love it, and we need to just keep the two high safety. I want more running. I want more defense. I want low-scoring, tight games because then they'll just feel like there's more at stake with every single play and every possession late in a game when you have lower-scoring games.
I can't fully join you there in asking for more Big Ten West football. I like my Big Ten West football to stay in the Big Ten West. I think of a game like the playoff game between the Bills and the Chiefs, where Tyreek Hill and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were just trading touchdowns back to back to back, and they are all on massive gains. That's the kind of football I prefer to watch. But this kind of pearl clutching about touchdown passes being down, passing touchdowns being down as a whole. We're talking about points being down. Like, let's face it, the NFL wants more points because points puts a good product on it. It makes people watch more. It's the proliferation of gambling and of fantasy football that kind of fuels all that behind it. I think it's good for the product, but there's not one reason why. It's not simply just the fact that more teams are doing the too high shell coverage stuff. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks now that frankly aren't that good. A lot of quarterbacks have left the game due to age that haven't been fully replaced by guys that can provide the same. Like Drew Brees isn't out there anymore. Tom Brady's not out there anymore. Peyton Manning's not around. The game has just changed. It's going through a reset at that quarterback position. I think it also matters that the Kyle Shanahan offense with Sean McVay, with Matt LaFleur, with Mike McDaniel, that they are teams that have found an advantage in running the ball, and they simply just choose to run the ball more. There's more than one factor here, and I think they all kind of coalesce to make one issue, if you want to call that. Let's put it around it, because I don't think most people are looking at. There's certainly not a defensive coordinator looking at the passing touchdowns numbers and being like, yeah, that number needs to go up. That's a number. That number's right where they want it. They should take pride in the fact that that number is lower than it was. So I love a good Mel take. If you get a chance, go watch that video. Because he just rattles off so many classic old guy names that I felt like, you know what I felt like, Hunter, in that was like I was sitting with my grandpa and he was just telling me about every old athlete that he loved to watch.
Those moments are great, though, when you get the old guy names. You're like, okay, awesome. I know 3 of those names because I happen to have heard them before. I think also, like, one of the big things with this touchdowns being down, and former teammate of ours, now the linebacker coach for Jackson State, Chris Orr, he always talks about how he hated playing Ohio State because those coordinators and the coaches, they were basically playing Madden with their quarterbacks, he would say, because it was literally just you're going to read this one corner, you're going to throw either to the over the top receiver or underneath. It's a half field read, and if neither of those are there, you run with the ball or you throw it away, and that's it. You don't actually read the defense. You don't actually figure out what they're trying to do to stop you, and then these guys go through and they put up these gaudy numbers, and then everybody's like, oh, well, obviously Justin Fields is this great quarterback. He needs to be drafted high, and you see that, oh, maybe he can't actually read a defense at all because he was never asked to do it from high school through college, and now he's in the NFL, and you expect him to do it. Like, we've changed the way that position is played, and I think now we're starting to see the downside of that at the pro level because these defenses are really, really good.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. I mean, you don't have to look any further than the Washington Commanders and the Jaden Daniels offense with Cliff Kingsbury there. I believe the defensive back who last week talked about Xavier Worthy kind of just being fast, he said that's a cool college offense they run there in Washington. So I do think you are seeing sort of that thing try and proliferate. The problem is It doesn't work with full-grown men. Before we transition here into our conversation about the Milwaukee Brewers and our pick'ems for the week, I do want to tell you about Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits. That's Door County Distillery, made locally in beautiful Door County. If you're heading to Door County, make sure to stop by for tours, tastings, and exclusive product in Carlsville, or bring Door County to you. Affordable, local, and delicious. Door County Distillery's vodkas, brandies, rums, and whiskeys are available wherever great liquor is sold. Tailgating, having a fire, or hold on, my live read's stuck. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Let me start that over. Door County Distillery's vodkas, brandies, rums, and whiskeys are available wherever great liquor is sold. Tailgating, having a fire, or just kicking your feet up, do it with Door County Distillery. Visit doorcountydistillery.com. Let's kick it over to the video of Alex Strouf giving you some beautiful recipes from Door County.
Where in the world is Door County Distillery today? It brings me to Sugar River Pizza, the legendary in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Let's go to the bar. Let's see what they've got. We're here in the beautiful bar at Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie. My guy Kyle just mixed me up a cherry brandy old fashioned with the cherry brandy from Door County Distillery. It's delicious. I tell you it all the time. It's proving it right here. The best.
I'll tell you what, Kyle can make a cocktail.
All right, power ranking. Top 3 drinks to have from Door County Distillery. We're going 3-1. Number 3, it's a split decision, but they're both on the rocks. Either the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey or my personal favorite, the bourbon. Right on the rocks. Nice Sunday night and the weekend. I love it. That's number 3. Number 2, the Cherry Cosmo with that green bottle of gin. That thing tastes like summer. It's unbelievable. It's delicious. You got to try it. Check out the recipe. DoorCountyDistillery.com. Number 1, it's in my left hand right now with the cherry brandy made with local Door County cherries. The cherry brandy old fashioned. That's my list, but there's no wrong answers. You got to find out for yourself. DoorCountyDistillery.com. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Thank you, Alex Strouf. It's good to see his shining face here. I do want to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, the NL Central Milwaukee Brewers here. This morning, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy was out at AmFam Field for the postseason pregame tailgate. They had all sorts of fans out there. They were serving brats at 7 a.m. And fans who went out there were able to get their hands on some of the playoff merch. Jen, Gabe, and Chewy did have the distinct honor of talking to Brewers legend Robin Yount. Robin Yount had something interesting to say that I wanted to talk about here right now.
How important is it for them to get that first round bye?
I think it's very unimportant, actually. If it was me, I'd rather not have it. Baseball's meant to be played every day. And if you notice the playoffs last year, all the division winners that had byes all lost in the first round. Well, I think Houston might have got through the first round and lost in the second. I don't really see it as an advantage to get that first round bye. Obviously, it means the first playoff round against the wild card you got to win, but I still think you're better off playing than sitting.
Now, that right there is a classic radio trope, the debate of rust versus rest. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because the Brewers are in a unique situation, one that I can't really remember, where they are in legitimate contention to get that first round bye. The top 2 teams in each league do earn that opportunity. And I have been keeping my eyes not on the division. I gave up caring about what was going to happen in the NL Central probably 2 months ago at this point. I thought the Brewers had it wrapped up and weren't going to give it up. But I've been kind of closely monitoring the Phillies and the Dodgers to see if the Brewers can kind of skip around here. Because as Robin Yount said there himself, you will have to play in the wild card. And anything can happen in those early rounds, especially with the duration of the series being shorter than the ones as you go on. The one thing I did find interesting was kind of how it's an advantage for teams who keep playing. Now we don't have a large sample size of first round bye teams kind of failing in the postseason, but there are some recent memories we all have of team. I mean, there's a reason we ended up watching the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series last year. What I find fascinating and kind of I'm viewing almost as a privilege right now is the fact that the Brewers are so good. We have to worry, or we've been given the opportunity to worry about, will they get a first round bye? Now, as a Brewers fan, that is a pretty unique situation for me to be in. I think all that tells us is our expectations for this Brewers team should be sky high. We should be thinking NLCS or bust. The Brewers aren't the plucky underdog, despite them starting the season as the plucky underdog. The Brewers still lead the league in run differential. They have one of the best records in baseball. As fans of sports, the kind of things we get excited about are the expectations. Because as a Brewers fan who watched the team in the 90s, I never had expectations. Even into the early 2000s, there wasn't much there to watch. You got excited about young guys coming up and hopefully being fun to watch. Now, as Brewers fans, we're seeking out how far can this team go. They haven't been back to the NLCS in a few years now. And I see a lot of people who are hesitant to kind of change the expectations that they started the season with. Expectations are a privilege. Expectations are something we should seek out. And if your team doesn't meet your expectations, it's good to be disappointed by that. If you have expectations, your team matters. Now, Hunter, you're a fan of a team that we kind of talk about on this program a lot here, but I know you are a Brewers fan. Are you like not to name anyone specifically, Jesse Nelson, who says, the expectation shouldn't be NLCS or bust? Or are you the guy that's kind of leaning into this? The team was an underdog, but they're good.
Yep, exactly. I always say that the bar can move. Like wherever you set that bar for your expectations for a team, it's going to go up and down throughout your season. Because that's what happens once you actually see them play the games. And as much as the Cowboys' losses in the playoffs pain me as a fan, I love feeling like, okay, it's the playoffs. This year is going to be different. I've seen all of these things that tell me it's going to be different. And then, you know what? It doesn't happen. I'm heartbroken. It sucks, but that's a part of being a fan. Only one team wins a championship every year. It's really hard to win the championship. So I just want to feel like, you know what? At least they have a chance, because I would much rather be this right now and be worried about where are things in the playoffs? Or I've got friends who are White Sox fans. They're the worst team ever in baseball. Yeah. I would much rather be in this spot every single time, without a doubt. Being the worst team in any sport is the worst feeling you can have as a fan. And I do kind of want to talk about what Robin said there of like, do you want to play or not want to play? Like, I understand that baseball is meant to be played every day. I get it. But man, if the Brewers can get the Dodgers at home in a 5-game series instead of having to play 3 of those games out in LA, I'd much rather have home field advantage, because it is totally different if you're having to play at AmFam Field or go out to LA and play the Dodgers. Like, that's such a different environment. So if they can get home, I would much rather see them have that home field, because maybe there's a chance then that the 1 seed loses. Maybe the Phillies lose. And then all of a sudden, you're again at home for a 7-game series. You get 4 games at home at AmFam Field. Revenge for what happened in 2018, and they finally can win it. Like, I'm taking that every single time. I'd rather they get those couple of days, and you just maybe figure out something more to do in those off days to simulate things a little bit better, and you go from there. If they can get home field, I want home field.
Yeah, no, this is the one place where I will kind of accept either answer when it comes to baseball. I think it's way different in the NFL. Like, that bye in the first round, especially now that only one team's getting it in a physical sport. Not that baseball isn't physical. They are still running, jumping, throwing, all that stuff. But the terms of like physical damage, like that bye week is huge in the NFL. I do think there is a little bit to say for baseball because it is so cerebral and it is so habit and ritual based that I do think you can make an argument for, hey, let's just keep playing. If we're playing hot, especially at the end of the season, we can kind of just keep this thing rolling. I do agree with you mostly, Hunter. I do think anytime you can get a bye and home field advantage, you just have to take that and hope for the best. I do, however, hesitate to disagree vehemently with a Brewers legend like Robin Yount, who's taken the Brewers as far as they've ever gone. So that is a classic, and I'm very anti sit on the fence guy there, but baseball does make me give it a second thought I don't afford to other sports. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
But I think about those baseball playoff environments, and it's so different than the way it feels in the regular season.
I saw Tony Plush hit that game winning single. That was one of the greatest moments ever of mine as a sports fan. I would pay to be in that situation again, a lot of money. So I think you're totally right. I do just when it's Robert. Now, if this was some slappy saying it, so I don't want to name any specific sports commentator. Let's just say Jesse Nelson. If it was Jesse Nelson saying it, I'd be quicker to dismiss it. That's two strays for him today. He hasn't even done anything wrong to me today. I would be more. But I do think there is, and Pat Murphy joined us later in the show, and I think there is enough there to say it probably works better for some teams than other. And I don't know if the Brewers are a team that, like, do we think this team is leaning into the underdog mentality? And, we don't need that one seed. Nobody really believes in us anyways. So let's just go there and bleep and take it. Like, I don't know. I think I have a hard time telling anyone on either side of this that they're wrong.
And I feel like, and we've said it so many times this year with this Brewers team, they feel different in just their attitude towards the games. They don't feel as tight, and like we saw it with the Cubs then, and they just seemed more tight, and whatever it is, the way that Craig Counsell manages his teams compared to the way that Pat Murphy is managing this team, like, I feel like this team could handle having those days off better and then being ready to go. And him knowing when to flip that switch and get things going again for them if they had a couple of days off. If this was a Craig Counsell managed team, no, I want them playing every single day because I just need them in this. Okay, we just played 2 days ago, whatever, we had a day off, and now we're just back at it again. A Pat Murphy managed team, that's why I want to disagree with Robin Yount, as dumb as that sounds for me to say. It sounds so stupid coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, why'd you go home and tell your parents you disagreed with Robin Yount today and see how they take that?
Oh my gosh, my dad would laugh me out of the house. He would be like, "You are the dumbest person in the world." But like, it's just, this team feels so different. Where I'm just like, no, I want them at home as often as they can be.
Yeah, they still have a chance to do that. They still do have, albeit a smaller one than it was with the game coming to an end. I will be at AmFam Field today. I will be enjoying some nice beverages. So if you see me out there, if you happen to be out there, come say hi. Let's drink a beer and celebrate how good the damn Brewers are now at this point. I do want to transition here to, probably not to denigrate anyone else in the show, but the Underdog Picks. Let's do some pick'ems. I've been looking up and down the pick'ems for the entire week. I entered a lot of slips last week. I want to start out with the Packers and the Titans game here. Do you want to transition over there to the screen share, Hunter, and we can kind of get this going? So I'm going to try and do all of this while talking and using a mouse. So I usually just talk into a microphone, and I got to figure out the multitasking portion here. But there is one thing I want to point out here. At the top, they have these promos. There is a 35% profit boost available for the next 19 hours. If you want to play along with us at Underdog, make sure you enter the code Good Karma here and play along. But click this 35% profit boost here and help yourself try and earn a little bit more money. Now I'm going to make this specifically just picks about the Packers and Titans, and I've gone through here and there's a few things I really like. I'm going to start off with the 0.5 interceptions for Will Levis. I think there is an exceedingly good chance that he ends up throwing the Packers an interception. We've seen the Packers convert 5 interceptions already. One of them was a Hail Mary. But this is a team that is different. They are 2 away from their season total last year. And Will Levis has frankly puked all over his shoes the past 2 games. So I do like
Shout
the
out Josh
higher.
Myers.
Shout out Josh Myers. I do like the higher there on interceptions. Let's go over to Malik Willis. I am operating as if Malik Willis is playing. There is something I want to click here, something that sticks out, and that's the 31.5 rushing yards. As we talked about earlier in the program, if the Packers are going to win, Malik Willis is going to have to use his legs. 31.5 is lower than what he had last week. And I think, frankly, they're going to call his number more.
Now, for someone who I haven't started playing Underdog yet,
Yes.
I will get that going this weekend. If, say, Jordan Love does play then, and you've got that Malik Willis one in there, what happens with that?
It depends on what it is, but in most of these situations where it is like injury related, I don't want to guarantee this by any means. So this comes with a fat disclaimer, a big disclaimer. Sometimes they'll just kind of wipe those out and just use the remaining picks there.
Okay.
So your numbers will all drop, or at very worst, they just give you your money on your entry back. So they have been forgiving in the past for situations like that. If you don't feel comfortable with it and you would rather keep Malik Willis out of it, by all means, feel free to do that. The next one I want to point out here is this number, which has actually gained a yard here. It's the longest rush for Josh Jacobs. It's currently at 15.5. We saw him reel off like a 30, 40 yarder last week. I do think he's going to be a center point of this offense regardless. And I think Josh Jacobs looks as explosive as we've seen, not to compare him to the version that led the league in rushing. But I do think he looks spry. I do think there is going to be opportunity, especially with jamming the box. If you break past that front 7, there is opportunity there. So I like the higher there. And the last one I'm going to go with is one that I feel like I'm taking a big shot on. But it's something I want to do. They've been raving about this guy now for weeks. I think they're going to try and get creative around the end zone. We got a big 4.5 higher there. We are going to accept that. Oh, hold on. Alrighty there. So I've got 4 picks. We've got the Will Levis, the Malik Willis, the Josh Jacobs as well. I am going to actually put $5 on this. As you can see, I'm just going to do a standard slip. We are going to go higher on a touchdown for Tucker Kraft as well. So there is that first one. Confirm. I do want to show us something here that is a little thing. I said we were going to do it last week. I wasn't able. I wasn't able to get it onto the program last week. So let's move over here to my live tab. And here's a little something fun we talked about. It's the streaks option. Up at the top, you will see the streaks option. So my streak that I'm trying to start and run through a couple weeks here on Underdog on Mr. Irrelevant is this one. It is that same Will Levis higher on 0.5 interceptions and higher on 3.5 rushing yards for Tank Dell. Tank Dell has had at least 2 carries in each of the past games. He has gone like 16 and 17 yards in each of them. So in those, what basically what this is you pick 2 picks, and then if you make your streak each week, as you kind of build out here, you will have the chance to win $4,400.
Wow. And then
I can't hear you, Hunter. Oh, there you go.
And that's just like if they keep doing that every week and they hit for 4 weeks.
No, so you'll have to add picks to it as it goes. It's only
okay.
showing
and then it's
these
if you
2
get
here.
the right picks. Okay.
So if you see here the pick count, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it kind of builds up each week. You do have a way to bounce out of them after you hit a certain amount. Like there is like a cash out option like you would have. So that's what that is. And then the fun one, I talked about it. This is a vibes-based slip here. This is simply, you're kind of just throwing it out in the wind. This is my touchdown slip of the week. I have picked all running backs that are all vulture protected. That's what you see there behind Devin Achan and their image there. This is 8 picks. It's a flex pick. I put $5 on it, and I picked each of these guys to score a touchdown this week. Now, the reason I'm doing that is a lot of these options, as you'll see here, are rushing and receiving touchdowns. But say David Montgomery rushes for a touchdown instead of Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs will have the option. There to this kind of be like a non-pick. So you have multiple outs, and you'll be able to kind of make those there. So Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Jordan Mason, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, all on a vibes-based pick 'em. What do you think of that one, Hunter?
That, if that goes, that's a great Sunday. But like, the NFL is crazy. So you're just like, I'm going all in on the running backs. Like we were talking about the cover two, you're just going to see all this running, and running backs are getting in. Like that's bold.
Yeah,
I love it, but it's bold.
Yeah, I mean these entries are wild, and I said they are vibes based. The reason I think it's an advantage for you and I and the people watching Mr. Irrelevant here is there are multiple outs. You can rush or receive or have someone else on that team rush for a touchdown. So it is vibes based. I had one, I think it was a 6 of 8 last week convert. So it is possible. These guys will score a lot more than you think. And, you give yourself a couple outs, you have fun, you look at that big number there. So I'm not going to recommend anybody joins in on these, but I do want to show those out there, because if you think you're better than that, or you want to put just a 4 out there with the same vulture protection, as long as you see that little icon behind each guy there on your entry, you'll be given the same benefit. How do you feel about the Packers one? Do you got any takes on that one, Hunter?
This Packer one, the Josh Jacobs longest run, I was a little skeptical of that. Yeah, I feel like the other 3, I'm like, I have a feeling that might be a late in the game as the Packers are trying to run the clock a little bit. You're like, oh, come on, break away from one. And that's just in general, whenever I've done things like Underdog or other ones, I always get a little, like, I get leery of doing them. Like, I'm a fan of just scoring, like, number of receptions, interceptions. Like, I'll do sacks, too, for, like, defensive players. But as soon as I start getting, like, longest one or total yards for guys, I just, like, I don't know why. I just have, like, I'm really bad at picking those every single time. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, I could go CeeDee Lamb for one, and I'm just like, I'm not going to hit this because, like, I can't figure it out.
I'm going to build another one here because you inspired me about the sacks one. I am going to add the higher slip here with Rashawn Gary sacks. As I said, I do think that's kind of something Rashawn Gary has to do. They got a fantasy analyst there as the right tackle facing him. I do think we need to see Rashawn Gary from that perspective. So let's find something else here, and we'll just make it a little 2 spot here that we like for the Titans. I was kind of looking at Tyler Boyd here or Chigakwanku. There are teams, and I've found myself picking lowers on guys that kind of, don't see the ball a whole lot. That did go wrong for me yesterday, picking against, I picked a lower for Tyler Conklin on yards, but I'm going to add in here this entry as well. We got the higher on Rashawn Gary sacks, and we are going to take the lower Chig Okonkwo there with the 17.5 receiving yards. All right, let's transition back here to what we learned. Hunter, I'm going to let you kick us off because I know you said you had one from Wednesday that you were planning to get to that we weren't able to.
Yeah, on Wednesday, I came across this on TikTok, as I come across most things in my life, because I don't really have much of a life and I spend a lot of time on TikTok. But this was a 4-star tackle in high school who, after the CEO of Waffle House passed away, came running out onto the field with his game having the flag of Waffle House. And I'm like, only in America does the top offensive tackle and the recruit in the country come running out onto the field for his high school game with the Waffle House flag. Like, I just love this country so much. So that's what I learned, that I love America.
Yeah, I have never been to a Waffle House.
What?
I do know the story about how, like, they're one of the only places open during, like, extreme weather events. That is one thing I do know about them. And all I ever hear is rage reviews. I guess I don't know how. I've definitely been in cities where Waffle Houses were and just never quite made it to them. And that is something I need to get myself into, is a Waffle House at some point.
I went to a Waffle House on a band trip down to Orlando, and we did the coach buses from Berlin all the way down to Orlando. And we stopped at one outside of Atlanta that was connected to a car dealership. It was great. And then one of my friends had grits for the first time, and he was like, this is disgusting. Why do people in the South do this? I'm like, I told you, man. I told you not to do it. But Waffle House is great. Like, it's also not great, but it's also great.
Well, yeah, that's kind of all those types of foods. It is at varying degrees of great. It also depends on maybe how much alcohol you had that night, or the previous one, how many door counties you enjoyed before making your way into a Waffle House. What I learned was also something that I wanted to bring up on Wednesday, was that Tennessee, the football program, is going to be adding a 10% talent fee to their tickets for the upcoming season. So it's not this year, but next year. And the reason for that is, as we all know, there is a court case kind of working its way through the system, and it appears that they are going to have to do some sort of revenue sharing. The reason I bring it up is because this is capitalism in America at its finest. The entity, the Tennessee Volunteers, are going to now have to kind of share some of that wealth. So guess what? We're passing it right on to the consumer. Isn't that interesting how that works? You can build these metropolises of sports, get all these places built that are top of the line. And then guess what? Now to come watch us is a little more expensive because we have to pay the free labor that we used to enjoy on the field. That, to me, I am against it, especially if you're a donor to one of these programs. You're getting hit double. Not only am I investing in the collective that is doing NIL and all that, now my tickets got a little extra money on them.
Okay, but Tennessee Stadium holds close to like 100,000 people. Those tickets are probably like $60 a spot. You're paying an extra $6. So that way then Verona senior right now, Trey Poteet, he's going to go play football for Tennessee next year. I would pay an extra $6 to watch him play football. He's one of the best football players I've ever seen. Like, so yeah, I'm okay with paying an extra $6 on my ticket, so that way then I know he's getting some of this money actually finally. Like, it's fine. It's okay for these guys to get some money. Any other college student can get money doing anything else.
I'm not against the athletes receiving money. I'm worried about where the money's coming from. I want that money coming out of the athletic director's pocket, out of the head coach's pocket, out of, the people who are making all of this money. How about those TV deals? Where's all that money going? The massive deals that they're signing with conferences. I'm not trying to I want athletes to make as much money as humanly possible, especially those sacrificing. I'm worried about, instead of the people who have been for years and years and years making money hand over fist to keep collecting, stop taking that from the consumer and take that from your own pockets.
Then the consumers collectively in the state of Tennessee need to not go to games. If it bothers them that much, don't go. Let the market decide. Like, that's what needs to happen. And the thing is, it won't happen. So I've just got to embrace it.
Of course not.
Because the thing is, I'm not going to stop. I'm wearing my Badger stuff today. I'm not going to stop going to a game if they say, you know what, we're going to go, instead of a 10%, we're going to go a 15% talent fee onto our tickets. I'm still going to go. I'm still buying those tickets because I'm a sucker and I want to go see the team play. So that's just what's going to happen. And if you don't like it, then don't go. Let their attendance dip, and then they'll realize, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea.
I understand where you're coming from. I vehemently disagree. We got to have principles in this damn world, and I don't want more people taking money out of my pockets so they can keep collecting as much as they have. That's all I got to say on that.
Have your principles
factor.
on the couch. I'll have my principles in the stands enjoying a game.
I'm going to keep having those principles on the couch. Thank you very much. All right, that'll do it for us this week. It has been a great week. I will be back with you on Monday with Alex Strouf. Hopefully makes his call into the program and kind of gives us his take. He said he might not even be actually going to the game, which would be interesting. But we'll get all that from him on Monday. Enjoy the weekend, Wisconsin. This has been Mr. Irrelevant.